Hi everyone. How are you all? You guys all right? Let me say hello to everybody. All right, and welcome to another Exploring IELTS with Fabi special edition today once again, okay? To get you ready for the workshop IELTS Booster 3.0, okay? An event that is 100% online, free, and it's going to happen on the 24th, 26th, and 28th of April. Okay, and in this event I will share lots of interesting things that will help you boost your IELTS score, okay, and help you get the score you need and do the test only once, okay? So if you want to participate, head to my bio, okay, here on Instagram, and click there. There's a link and you can join. All right, okie dokie guys. And as you know, we're live on Instagram and also on YouTube. Okay, we're live at both places at the same time. Look at technology. So good. Okay. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher. I teach English here at colleges and universities in Brisbane, Australia. And I help a lot of people get the score they need on the IELTS test by doing the test only once. Okay, okay. All right. So let's get started. So I don't know if you guys know what we're going to talk about today. Today is a topic that a lot of people like. Actually, a lot of people don't like this topic, but everyone should be paying attention to this, all right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about grammar, writing, and a 7+ score in writing. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. If you have any questions, pop the questions in there. If I miss some of your questions, I usually go over the comments later. All right, so just if you ask a question and I don't get to your question right now, hang around a little bit and I'll get to that a bit later. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so one of the reasons that I decided to talk to you guys a little bit about grammar, okay, especially for the writing part, is that it is very, very important. Lots of people take grammar for granted, okay, when they're going to do the IELTS test. Actually, a lot of people, they forget to study, okay, English in general, okay, when they're doing the IELTS test. So when I work with my students, we always study English. And I'm talking about grammar and I'm talking about vocabulary, okay? So we always do that because I do feel that once you know the test, the next step, if you're not getting the score you need, the next step is actually to improve your English, all right? And today we're gonna be very, very specific with grammar and very specific with some grammar points. Okay, so one thing that I've seen heaps of times, guys, is actually people's scores. Okay, so as you know, I've been helping lots of people for a very long time, and one score when it comes to writing, especially task 2, but mostly task 2 and task 1, right? A score that is very common, and you can write in the comments, it's me, if you are the case, okay? Lots of people will say, someone said, please save your lives. Matthias, you can go to YouTube. Yeah, so all the lives are on YouTube, guys. So if you go to YouTube and then you have the section, I think it's videos, and then it says lives, it's all there because I'm live on YouTube and Instagram. All right, guys. So if you miss any of these and if you want to watch again, just head to YouTube. It's Fabi English on YouTube. Okay, Matthias. So if you miss it, don't worry. Okay, just go ahead and have a look there. Okay, guys. So all the lives are on YouTube, which is pretty cool. All right. Okay, so as I was saying, one score. Okay, and if you've gotten this kind of score before, please say me in the comments. All right. One thing that is quite common is for people to get, so again, I don't know if you know, but when it comes to the IELTS writing, okay, the way people will check your writing, the examiners will check your writing is actually, they are going to check 4 things. They're going to check task response or task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, which is vocabulary, and grammar. They're going to check these 4 things, right? So it's very common for people to have, let's say they need a 7 overall in writing, right? So they get 7 for task achievement, meaning they did what the IELTS wanted them to do, right? At a level that is a 7, good. Coherence and cohesion, 7, meaning that they did that at 7. And then vocabulary, maybe 6. And grammar, 6. This is very, very common, meaning that you are doing what the IELTS wants you to do, but your English is not there yet. And even sometimes people's vocabulary is not that bad, but then the grammar is really low, and then you end up getting a 6 for grammar and a 6 for vocabulary. Okay, today we're only going to focus on grammar, okay? Maybe in the future we'll also do one on vocabulary, okay? So yeah, so it is very, very common, okay, guys, for people to go and get 7 in half of it and 7 in the other half. And usually people get 7 when it comes to the English part of it, okay? And when it comes to a 7, guys, you need a few things, right? So basically, when the examiner is reading your writing, okay, they are focusing on specific things, right? And they would like to see the grammar that a person who's a 7 would use. That's the first step. So there are some things that examiners are expecting, meaning that, well, if this person is a 7, which is like advanced, right? So if this person is advanced, this person should be using this grammar. Okay, so there are some expectations, right? And then not only do you have to use it, you have to use it correctly. Okay, guys? So it's not only about, oh, I'm gonna use this grammar and that grammar and that's enough. Not really. You have to use it correctly. So that's what they're looking for, right? Because again, guys, remember, if you want a 7+, you're trying to prove that your English is academic, all right? And then if you don't use certain things, or if you use it incorrectly, then you're not gonna get your 7. And that's what's happening to a lot of people. I recently started helping one student, and this student had done the test many times. And her problem was always grammar, right? And then I said to her, but have you studied? She's like, no, it's actually the first time I'm studying with you. And I said, you should have started that before. And she's like, yeah, I didn't think about it. I'm like, yeah, but that's what you should be doing, you know, guys. So that's why getting feedback is so important. Okay, guys, that's why getting feedback when you are on your journey for the IELTS is so important. Throughout my course, I give so much feedback to my students because it's really important, so then you know what you have to improve, especially when it comes to grammar. Okay, so the main thing I want to start with today is the fact that there are some expectations. Okay, there are things that the examiners would like you to be using, and then you have to use it correctly. But let's say that you are using what they're expecting, but you're making mistakes. Then you're probably stuck at your 6.5. Okay, so most people who are stuck at a 6.5 are the ones whose accuracy, grammar accuracy, is not enough. You're still making few mistakes or a lot of mistakes, so you can't quite get your 7. Okay, some people have really good English, but they can't quite get the task, but that's a different story. Okay, so today we're really going to focus on the people who need to improve their grammar, and that's actually what I have seen a lot, okay, guys, in the recent years, all right? Okay, so today I'm going to share with you 3 types of grammar that I feel examiners would love to have in your writing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you 3 today, and not only that, I'm also going to tell you where people usually make mistakes and how you can pay attention to that. All right, so let's get started. So I have my list here. So the first one is definitely cohesive devices. Okay, so as you know, there is a whole section of of the writing where the examiner will be checking your coherence and cohesion, meaning does it make sense, how's your paragraphing, okay, that kind of stuff. And one of the requirements is for you to use linking words, cohesive devices, transitions, conjunctions, all of these things. Okay, but I'm saying lots of names, but what are they? However, although, in addition, also, all of these words, okay, guys, they expect you to use them. So again, that's one thing that they expect you to use. So the cohesive devices, right? But then we think about it, okay, so that we have the cohesive devices, okay, I'm using them. But now the question is, are you using them correctly? Okay, guys, that's the next big thing. This week, I did some writing with some students, and we did talk about it, and they made mistakes. Okay, but it's funny because sometimes people will have like one paragraph, they will have it, and it would be perfect. And then the next paragraph, there will be mistakes. Unfortunately, if you have that, you're going to be a 6.5, you're not going to be a 7 in writing. Okay, so usually, where do people make mistakes with the cohesive devices, right? You guys are actually very good at recognizing things. So you see, in addition, you know the meaning. You see, however, you know the meaning. However, when you guys have to use it, that's where you get stuck. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you 2 things that you guys do wrong. Okay, so start paying attention to it. All right. So one of the things that you guys do sometimes, I saw it 3 times just this week. Okay, you guys forget that when we're using these cohesive devices, our sentences need to have 2 parts. Yeah, okay. So if you're using the ones that will connect 2 parts of a sentence. Okay, of course, if you have something like however or in addition, you are actually connecting to the previous sentence. So that's fine to have like a simple sentence. But some of these ones, they will require you to have 2 parts for the sentence, guys. And you guys have only 1. Okay, so really, really pay attention to that. Every time you use cohesive device, remember, is this one to connect 2 parts of the sentence? Because if this cohesive device has to connect 2 parts of the sentence, you need 2 parts for the sentence. Okay? However, if you are using the ones that will connect to the previous sentence, that's fine. Full stop, put the word, continue your sentence, and that's it. Okay? Another thing that happens very, very often is what will come after that cohesive device. What will come after it? After however, what do you need? Do you need a subject? Do you need a verb? Do you need a noun? What do you need? Okay, so make sure you know what you need after. And again, guys, I know that when you look at the list of cohesive devices, okay, it can be quite overwhelming. It's a long list, all right? But do you need to know the whole list? No, you don't. You don't need to know the whole list, guys. Okay, you don't need to know the whole list. So what do? You learn some of them. Pick your favorites. Okay, pick your favorites and learn them and really learn how to use them. Okay, so if you have a set of maybe 3 or 5 that you always use, but you're using them correctly, you're less likely to make mistakes. Okay, so when it comes to cohesive devices, guys, remember if you are trying to connect 2 ideas in the same sentence, make sure you have the second part for the sentence. And also remember what will come after those words that you are using. All right, cool? Next grammar point that will make a big difference in your writing, the examiners love to see, is the passive voice, okay? And why is the passive so good in your writing? Passive, okay, every time we use the passive, we make things a bit more impersonal. And we make things a bit more impersonal. You make everything a little bit more formal. And that's the kind of thing you want in your writing. Okay, you want to be a little bit more formal, more academic. If you want a 7, remember, a 7 means that your English is academic. So you're going to try and be a bit more academic. Okay, so you need to use the passive. Guys, if you don't know the passive, don't remember the passive, revise it. Go ahead, revise it. In my course, we always revise the passive because it's so important. All right, okay? So what you can do, have a look at the passive. But I'm going to tell you where people make mistakes. There is a part of the passive that people always get wrong, okay? You guys are very good at recognizing the passive. You will read something and say, is this passive or active? Oh, this is active, this is passive. But when you guys have to do it and write it and use it in your writing, that's where you guys make mistakes, right? Where there's a specific part of the passive where you guys get wrong, okay? So I don't know if you remember it very well, but it's the part where we have the verb be. Okay, so for example, just a quick example here. You guys go check it out later, okay? Go revise it after this, okay? If you feel like you don't remember much. So for example, like I made a cake. I made a cake. Okay, so that's active because I have I. Who made a cake? Fabiana, I. Not really because I don't make many cakes. But okay, I made a brownie. I make brownies, yeah. So I made a brownie. Okay, so Fabiana made a brownie. I made a brownie. That's active because I know who made the brownie. Now, if you don't know who made the brownie, or if you want to focus on the fact that the brownie is ready, what do you say? A brownie was made. Or the brownie was made. Then it depends on how you want to approach it. So brownie was made. Who made the brownie? I'm not sure. Oh, it was Fabi. Okay, so a brownie was made by Fabi. Okay, so when I say that a brownie was made, that was there is what we call the be verb, okay? And it depends on the tense that you're using with the passive. That will change all the time, and that's where you guys get wrong, okay? So for example, you ask me, oh, are your brownies good, Fabi? Oh, yes. I've made lots of brownies in my life. I've made lots of brownies. So I'm using the present perfect, right? Now, how do you do the passive with that? Lots of brownies have been made by Fabi. Okay. Lots of brownies have been made by Fabi. Okay. Oh, someone just arrived and is asking, what's this live about? It's about grammar and writing for the IELTS test. If you want a 7+, you need grammar. Okay, that's what it is about. Talk about grammar. Okay, so you see, guys. So I think that sometimes people's problem is not really the passive, but maybe tenses. Okay, so it's a great idea to revise that, because if you just get that tiny bit of the sentence wrong, maybe you're not gonna get your 7, because to be able to be a 7 in academic, all right, you need to get that right. Maybe if you get one wrong, that's fine. But if you make lots of mistakes, okay, then you're going to have a big problem and you won't be able to get your 7+, okay? So we talked about cohesive devices, okay? Then we talked a little bit about passive. All right, guys, so make sure. I think actually I did a live a few months ago about the passive. Okay, so if you guys head to my YouTube and if you scroll through there, I think you'll be able to find, and I explain it in details there. Okay, guys. All right, so again, this is not grammar class, okay? That's why I'm asking you guys to go ahead and look it up, okay? So I'm just telling you exactly what you have to look for, all right? So if you are thinking about revising the passive, which I think you should, if you want a 7+, okay, just make sure you check the be verb. That's one of the most important things. All right, cool. And now we're gonna get to the third one, okay? Maybe this topic will not resonate to lots of people, okay? But I do know that people who speak Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Italian, they are not very good at this. And it's prepositions. Okay? There's some people there. Can you tell me how you feel about prepositions, guys? How do you feel about prepositions in English? Okay, I bet that if you speak Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, or French, you don't like it very much. Because prepositions in English are very different. Not very different. They're a little bit different from prepositions in your language. Okay, so I do feel that people who speak these languages, they struggle a lot with these prepositions. Okay, and again, guys, if you have the beautiful writing, 250 words, task 2, you got one preposition wrong. All right. Another preposition wrong. Another. Okay, you're not a 7. Okay, guys, so prepositions, make sure you revise your prepositions. Okay, and what would be the best way to revise your prepositions? The best way to revise would be actually to go over it. Okay, so what I do with my students, we have this special list. I personally don't like lists. If you've been following me for a while, you probably know that I hate lists. But if you have a list, so with prepositions, a good idea to have a list, but I'm going to tell you the best list you can get, okay? So with prepositions, it's okay to have a list, but you should approach the list in a very cool way, okay? So that's the best thing you can do, all right? So I personally don't like the lists that are pretty, let's say, simple. Okay, so to me, you should get maybe a list of prepositions with words that are a bit more academic. Okay, because usually you will get, what you get wrong is when you don't use the word very often. You kind of forgot what prepositions would go with that word. Okay, so maybe get a list of more academic words with the prepositions. Okay, and then you just go over them, and you can start with the ones that are not familiar to you and with the ones that you don't use very often, and then you practice them. Really write sentences. Okay, guys, just reading might not be enough. Okay, and also always practice 2 things together. Okay, so if you have some new words and all of that, just go ahead and get that word, get a preposition, and practice it together. For example, interested in. Just think about interested in, interested in, interested in. If you decide to write on in your writing, you might not get a 7, unfortunately. Okay, so that's one thing also, okay, guys? So yeah, so make sure you revise your prepositions if you want a 7+ in the writing part of the IELTS test, okay? So we talked about 3 things today, right? So we talked about cohesive devices. So basically making sure that you know whether the word you're using will need 1 part or 2 parts in a sentence. Okay. Also, think about the grammar that will come after this specific word. Another thing to think about. Then we talked a little bit about the passive. Okay, the passive will make your writing more academic. The passive will make your writing more, how can I say? More academic. And again, guys, if you have a sentence that has the passive and it has no mistakes, oh my God, you are going to impress the examiner big time. Yeah, the examiner really say, wow, this is beautiful. That's what I did this week with some students. Some people have the beautiful passives. Like, wow, this is so good. Green, green, green. Yeah, because that's how I check my students' writings. I go green for good, yellow for this is a mistake. Think about that. Okay, so I use 2 different colors to check the writings. Okay, so yeah, so if you just think about that, okay, and then when you get the writing back, everything should be green. Okay, so just think about that, right? And then prepositions, of course, guys. The prepositions are another thing that's extremely important. Okay, when you are thinking about getting a 7+. All right, guys, if you have any questions, you can pop the questions in. Okay, I'm just gonna say a few more things. Okay, so revise it. Okay, There are so many grammar books out there. So many grammar books out there. Okay, guys. One of my favorites is the Michael Vince grammar books. They are really nice. Some people like the Grammar in Use. That's really old school one. But if you're studying by yourself, that's a pretty good one too. And there's a book that I absolutely love, Grammar for IELTS. That's one of the best ones out there. There are, I think, two or three different publishers. Okay, guys? Yeah, but just grab a book, okay? Have a look at the description of the grammar. If you feel you understand, maybe that's the book for you. Or if you feel like, oh, it's a bit confusing, maybe get another book. Okay, because there are lots of different grammar books out there, different styles. Okay, yeah, so I think that's the first thing you should do. Maybe just pick a book that you really like. Okay, and then have a look at the description, okay, what the grammar is about and all of that. And then do some exercise practices, okay? However, if you want a 7+, guys, just doing that thing, just completing activities, you know, answering questions, you know, exercise 1, 2, 3, that might not be enough, okay? So I always say that you really have to use the grammar. Use what you're practicing, okay? Best way to use it, make sentences, okay? So what I do with my students a lot is just maybe you just get those simple sentences in the activities, you completed them, got them right. Maybe create examples from them, okay? Maybe if you're not a creative person, just look at the example and maybe change to something that is true for you. Okay, another thing that I always talk about with my students, that if you're going to write sentences in English, if you're going to practice stuff in English, try to make sentences that are true for you, because the sentences, they are memorable, okay? And if you use the grammar really well, describing something about you, you remember more and you learn more, and that's what we want, right? So we want to improve our English so we can get a really good score on the IELTS test, and then we can do whatever we want. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, improve our grammar, do the IELTS test, get the score we need, go study abroad. Or we're gonna improve our grammar, get the score we need, and work abroad. So guys, I think that it's not only about the IELTS test, right? It's also about improving everything we need to improve. And then we go ahead and then we can do what we want to do after with amazing English. All right, there's a question here. Okay. Okay, so good afternoon. Actually, good morning. I'm in Australia. What is the best way? Sorry. What is the best way not to think in Spanish or translate from Spanish to English? Okay, yeah. So I wouldn't say there is a best way, okay? I would say that is practice, okay? And you should start trying to do it, okay? And again, it's not something that will happen overnight. So guys, if you're the kind of person that you feel like you're constantly translating things in your head, all right, if you want to change that, you should start right now, because it's not a slow process, okay? So one thing that I feel helps a lot of people is doing everything in English, okay? That's why I really don't like my students using translators, because when you're using translators, you're actually going English, Spanish, English, Spanish, English, Spanish, right? Not the best thing, okay? So one of the things that you have to do if you want to improve that, definitely go ahead and stop using translators. That's the first thing. And try to do everything in English. And then you say, oh, but I want to say something I don't know how to say. How do I say it? Well, you can, that's the thing. Maybe your knowledge of English is not that good yet. So the sentence that you're going to say, it's not that good in your opinion. But you are trying, you are saying something in English, okay? And then your job would be maybe to improve that sentence and make that sentence better, okay? And then doing everything in English, okay? So I do feel that that's my experience, okay, guys? I don't know if everyone's like that, but I've always felt that I have two parts in my brain. One part is English, the other part is in Portuguese. All right. So if I'm talking to someone who speaks English, I go to the English part of my brain and I get the information there. And if I'm talking to someone who speaks Portuguese, I go to the Portuguese side of it and I get that information from there. Okay. So that's usually how I tend to work. Okay. People are different. Okay. And you do have, like I said before, you have to find your little way of doing it. Okay, but if you notice that you are translating it all the time, pay attention to it and try to stop it, okay? And I feel that doing more things in English will definitely help. All right, I hope that answer was good. Yeah, it wasn't really an answer because I think people are different, okay? But you have to find your little way of improving that too, and maybe stop translating things in your head, okay? Because especially when it comes to the speaking part of the IELTS test, what I find is that the people who keep translating their heads, they are not very fluent. So you might lose a few points just because you are translating it in your head. Okay, so maybe trying doing everything in English would definitely help. Okay, any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Yeah, another thing, yeah, guys. So remember to go to my bio, click on the link there, and join the workshop IELTS Booster. Okay, 100% free, 100% online. Okay, and then there I will share lots of things with you that will definitely help you get the score you need on the IELTS test. All right, link is in the bio. Any other questions? No? All right, okay, no worries. So guys, I'm gonna head out, okay? If I see any more questions, I'll answer them. But if for any reason you still have a question that I haven't answered, I've been answering lots of questions on my Instagram messages, okay? So if it takes me a little longer, it's because it's usually a bit hard to see where the messages are there, but I'm keeping track of them every day. All right, so if you have any questions, you can send me a message there. Okay, and it's nice that you send me questions because some of those questions, they have become posts. Some of the questions, they have become lives. Okay, guys, so when you're there and you're sharing your questions with me, that will help lots of people too. And one of the things actually that I just did, lots of people are asking about where can they practice the IELTS test for free, right? Especially the computer version, all right? So if you go to my bio, there is a highlight there that says start here. If you click there, there is the link for the British Council website. Okay, so the British Council website, and you have, I think, 2 full tests that you can just try there. And the reason I'm telling you guys to go to that specific website is because you guys should be practicing IELTS tests that are authentic tests, not just any test that you find on the internet. Okay, because if you are practicing with really authentic materials, what will happen is you will get real scores, all right? And that will help you on your IELTS journey too. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna go, okay, but don't forget to go over to my link in the bio, okay, and go ahead, and if you have any other questions, just make sure you send me a message, all right? I'll see you next time, okay? I think I'm back tomorrow.